On today's show, the LA Clippers couldn't stay undefeated on the road. It was a narrow loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. What were the main reasons that we fell short in this one? Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day. Your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I went live directly after the game for my raw reaction. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. I want you to let me know what you thought of the game, what were the main reasons we lost, and make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video. And Locked On Clippers now has a newsletter written by yours truly, introducing the Locked On Clippers daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. Let's get more signups than other teams, please. Let's move up in the ranks. We were in last place last I checked, so come on, guys. It's a free newsletter. It's not too long either. That's lockedondaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Just head over to FanDuel.com to join today. All right, Clipper Nation, a narrow loss in this one to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are favored to make it out of the West this year. It was our second time seeing them this season. Of course, we still don't have Kawhi Leonard, but they have gotten hit with some bad news that they're not going to have Chet Holmgren for a couple of months, who's out with a hip injury, and they're already without Isaiah Hartenstein, so they really have no center, and Jalen Williams from Arkansas is out. So going into the game, I was thinking, this is a zoo game. But ultimately, it was the same thing, or the same things that have cost us several games this season: turnovers and missed free throws. I'm also going to be talking about James Harden's performance, not just in this game, but recently, and then Terance Mann as well. But let's just begin with the stuff that lost us the game, and I think it was turnovers and free throws. If you turn the ball over 24 times on the road, you are not going to win. Let's talk about how that happened. So, with the Thunder starting Jalen Williams essentially at the 5, so they went with their normal starting lineup of Aaron Wiggins, SGA, and Jalen Williams, and Lou Dort. And then they had Isaiah Joe start over Chet. So they had a switch 1 through 5 unit with J-Dub guarding Zubac. And the one thing that I thought they did a very good job of is putting on a lot of ball pressure. You know, getting into Clipper players and making their lives difficult. It's going to be very rare this season where I'm talking about a team playing us and I'm like, yeah, they're better defensively. They're even more aggressive than we are. Their ball pressure is great. And this is one of those teams. The Oklahoma City Thunder are just younger than us. They have a lot of good on-ball defenders, so they're really pesky in that regard. And I thought they were doing a really good job of making our guards work harder and also just pressing up on them so that entry pass to Zoo was not easy. And oftentimes they were getting ready to double from that weak side, with Zubac. And the second he caught the ball, they were doubling. And I thought Zoo did a pretty poor job to begin the game of passing out of double teams. He turned the ball over a good amount. And as I said, the Thunder were getting ready to come over to the backside because the best way to double if you're a defense in the post is from the weak side corner, because that's the toughest pass to make, is that cross-court pass. And if they try to swing it around the traditional way, then sometimes the guy that was doubling can get back and recover to that man in the corner. And there were times where that happened in this game. So Zubac, I've said it over and over. The only thing that's going to get him better, though, playing out of double teams, is continuing to get reps in the post. And I thought that he had a couple turnovers early, and we went away from him. And I'm not a huge fan of trying to match small ball with a team like the Thunder. I think we should have leaned into Zubac more, even with the early turnovers. But yeah, a lot of that was caused by the ball pressure. And I also think that Zoo had to be better in the first half of keeping the defender on his back. If he's got that much of a size advantage, you can't be letting them get around you, man. It's that simple. And we got to do better with our entry passes. Right now, James Harden and Nicholas Batum seem like the only guys that can make solid entry passes to Zoo. Everyone else, not so much. And we just got to do a better job taking care of the ball. We also had tons, and I mean tons, of offensive fouls throughout the game, especially later in that second quarter. And that helped the Thunder go on a 14-0 run in that second, essentially all off of our turnovers. And look, we began the game turning the ball over. And I talked about with Zoo, them doubling quickly and him not working out of it well enough. But there were also times where the spacing just wasn't good enough from our team, where there'd be two guys cutting. And when Zoo has the ball in the post, there should only be one guy cutting, because then it just clogs things, right? The other three guys should be behind the arc. And there were times where KPJ and of course, Terance Mann were just cutting unnecessarily or staying in the lane unnecessarily and giving their man a chance to double and then not pay for it. As far as some positives to begin the game, I thought James Harden had some solid pep in his step early. He blew by Alex Caruso once, which is very impressive, but he did not finish the layup. And James, and I've noticed this for a couple of years now, before he even came to the Clippers, he's just not finishing as well around the basket anymore because he doesn't have the same elevation. So contested layups are not nearly what they once were for him. But yeah, I thought we just turned the ball over way too much. 24 turnovers in the game. That's never going to win you a game. And then the free throws. You look at the team stats in the game. We actually shot 55% from the field. The Thunder shot 52%, so it wasn't like we were great defensively. But they shot 11 more times than we did. And we shot 6 more free throws, but we were 20 for 29, which is 69%. The Thunder were 22 for 23, which is 96%. So there's the game right there. Turnovers and free throws. We turned the ball over 24 times, and we got paid for with 32 points off of those turnovers. And they only turned the ball over 11 times. So even though we shot better from the field, and we shot 54% from three, which is astonishing. They shot 39% from three, so not bad at all. But we shot that well from three, but we didn't win the game because of free throws. Now, when you look at our starting lineup, they literally combined for 17 turnovers. The only player that played minutes for us tonight, Monday night, that didn't turn the ball over was Chris Dunn. And I thought he was really good in the short roll because there were a lot of times where they were doubling Harden at the top and wanted someone else to make a decision because we don't have the best playmakers. And Chris Dunn was doing a very solid job of that. But everybody else turned the ball over. And we didn't even play Kai Jones in this one. It was a full small ball kind of thing. And even though we had some decent minutes with it in the first half, I preferred in the second half when we were feeding the ball to Zoo more. He was getting deeper post position. We were being a little bit more patient on that entry pass and, waiting for the defenders to make a decision. Are you coming and doubling before the ball gets there? Because you have to flirt with that defensive 3-second violation. You know what I'm saying? So if someone comes, then if you're still on the wing or the top, you can throw that cross-court pass a little bit easier as opposed to when you throw the pass, immediately Zoo's getting doubled. He can't see the cross-court pass, and now you're in kind of a scramble mode. But, yeah, the free throws. So let's look at the turnover numbers. Derrick Jones Jr., 3 turnovers. That's too much for a guy who doesn't handle the ball enough. And he had a fantastic game, which I'll talk about in a sec. Zubac, 4 turnovers. All of them in the first half. Look, he's going to be working through some things, fighting out of those double teams and making reads out of those double teams. But in the second half, he had 0 turnovers, so honestly, I'm okay with it. James Harden, 5 turnovers. I mean, he's averaging 5 going into the game. That's just too much. I don't care how much he has the ball. That's just too much. Terance Mann had 2. Norman Powell had 3. Nico had 2. And one of them was literally because every time Nico gets run off the 3-point line, he doesn't get aggressive. He doesn't want to drive to score. He's not going to go up on anyone anymore. He's not stopping on a dime, and he's got no floater. He drives to kick it out to a three-point shooter, and I think teams might start figuring that out. He needs to keep the defense honest and shoot that pull-up. Look, if he doesn't want to go attack the rim and try to dunk on anyone because he doesn't want to get hurt, then pull up from the mid-range. But don't just pump fake, drive in, and then kick when nobody's, helping off of their man. And then Amir Coffey had 2 turnovers and Kevin Porter had 2 turnovers. And then the free throw situation, Derrick Jones missed his only free throw. Terance Mann was 1 for 2. James Harden 4 for 5. Zoo 4 for 6. Norm 6 for 8. And Chris Dunn 1 for 2. And KPJ 2 for 3. The only guy that made all his free throws was Amir Coffey, who was 2 for 2. But ultimately, I'm not too mad about the loss. I know they didn't have Chet or Isaiah Hartenstein, but we didn't have Kawhi, and I don't think we're better than the Thunder. SGA was the best player on the court. We really struggled with him. He had 45 points. And yes, I know he gets a generous whistle. He had 16 free throw attempts. Those fouls at the end of the game were hard to watch. Amir Coffey felt like he played solid defense there. Chris Dunn, there was another moment in the game where it felt like he played solid defense. And I thought the refs just did a terrible job with this game. They called every little foul, made it fairly unwatchable. When you have 3 guys that love to foul bait like Norman Harden and SGA, I mean, it can be tough to watch. I honestly don't get as annoyed with SGA's foul baiting as most, because even though he flails a bit, I still like his process offensively. He tries to get to the mid-range. He has counters, and he's just a tough guard. At the end, James Harden tried to get a little foul with Lou Dort, and they didn't give it to him. And look, it's home-centric officiating, but I'm not going to complain about refs when we have James Harden and Norman Powell. I'm just not going to do that, because I've always said on this show, just as a basketball fan, it's insane some of the calls they get. Tonight, Monday night, the whistle didn't go our way. It is what it is. We lost 134 to 128 to one of the best teams in the league, but the problem was we turned the ball over 24 times and shot 69% from the foul line and ended up getting 11 shots less than the Thunder as a result. But coming up, going to talk more about James Harden and the overall sequence of the game. How do we go down? How do we come back and then ultimately lose it again? I got to tell you a little something about Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. And the craziest part is Mint Mobile is actually one of my sponsors or partners for Dime Dropper. And Mint Mobile is great. The thing about it is that it's relatively new, and because they don't have an official store and it's all online, people don't believe how legit it is, but it's super legit. And it's super affordable and helpful for you if you want to save money. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected coverages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month, for real. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. You don't have to worry about that whole transfer process. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months off premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, so back here talking about the Clippers' first road loss of the season, 134 to 128 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're now 0-2 against the Thunder. Of course, they own our pick this year. They have a right to swap, I should say, if we have the worst record of Houston, us, and them. Although if Houston's pick ends up being top 10, they get to protect it, in which case OKC, if they do have a better record than us, would take our pick. So just something I wanted to throw out there. But so far, we're 6-5. I'm very pleased with the start of the season for us. But the one thing we got to clean up, as I talked about, is the turnover department. Right now, we're 4th in the league in turnovers, and I guarantee you that number is going to go up after this game. 17 turnovers right now is just too much. It's just way too much. And a lot of that is because James Harden is averaging nearly a third of them with 5 a game. And look, James Harden, he has been our anchor this season. Without him, I think we might be 0-11, maybe 1-10. He creates all the good shots in pick and roll. He does so much for us. But he's just not shot well this season. In this game, he had 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists, so 1 assist away from a triple-double. He's rebounded excellently this season, so I'll give him that. And he shot better from 3 in this game, 3 for 7. But he was 5 for 15 from the field. 4 of 5 from the foul line, as I mentioned, but 5 for 15 from the field. Every game, it seems like he's shooting poorly. And I think a lot of it is that in-between game that he's struggling with. You know, the floater is okay, but the mid-range is just not that great. And it's all, you know, in pick and roll or in isolation where he's starting at the top. He's weaving into that mid-range and then doing that step back because he doesn't stop on a dime. And it's a tough shot. It's usually fairly contested. And he doesn't get the same elevation on his shot, so it's usually short when he misses. And then when it's in isolation, he's working pretty hard for it. And it's a shot that he did not take for many, many years. So, yes, well, he has to take that shot because he can't just rely on layups, floaters, and threes anymore. He's not making it. And I know a lot of it's because he's fatigued. He has to do too much. And, you know, the intention of James Harden on this team is to be a second option, not a first option. And right now he's the clear-cut first option. He's getting the best defender every night. He's handling the ball a ton. It's taxing. It absolutely is. But the fact of the matter is he's got to shoot better than this. I mean, I did not expect him to shoot this poorly to start the season. Because you just think one of these games he's got to shoot over 50% from the field. In this season, he had one game where he shot over 50%, and it was against the Spurs where he was 6 for 10. That was our first one at the Intuit Dome. The bright side for James is 3 out of the last 5 games, he has shot 40+% from 3, so maybe that's coming together. But his overall field goal percentage, the last 4 games, 33% in this one, 29% in the Toronto game, 31% in the Kings game, and then 33% against Paul George and the Sixers in that game. He shot 60%, as I mentioned, against San Antonio, but then before that, 31, before that 42, before that 33, and before that 32. So he's really struggled shooting the ball. Then the turnover numbers, I mean, these are his turnover numbers for the season, starting from the first game. 8, then 7, 5, 5, 6, 2, 2, 6, 7, 4, 5. So that's a lot, right? He's got to keep that number down. I mean, I know we're 6-5. I mean, he's going into this game, he was averaging 21, 8, and 9, which is a near triple-double. But he's shooting 36% from the field, and it's going to go down even a little bit more after this game. So we need a little bit more from Harden. He did help us get back in the game, though, after we went down by 20 in the third quarter with 2 threes. And I thought he made some solid entry passes. But overall, that's what I have to say about Harden. In terms of James, it wasn't strictly his fault, of course, that we lost. Norman Powell was slow to begin the game. He was 1 for 5 at one point, and a lot of that's because the Oklahoma City Thunder are switching everything. So they're taking away all the curls, all the advantages that Norm would get on the off-ball screens. They're switching everything, which forces you to play isolation basketball, and Norman Powell is not really an ISO player. Even though he has shown more in terms of shot creation this season, he's still not that guy. But in the second half, he was doing a better job of getting downhill, turning the corner, and stuff started opening up for him. In terms of Ty Lue, I did disagree with how much he went away from Zubac in that first half. But one thing that I found interesting, but something that I found interesting was Ty went with the zone a lot in that first half. And it's that same zone with Zubac on the wing and not in the middle of the floor. And I still don't know why he does that. But just an interesting wrinkle that we saw. We ended the quarter on a little bit of a run, the first quarter. Derrick Jones Jr. made 2 threes, and he was just awesome in this entire game. And then Chris Dunn gave us some great stuff. Came in and got an amazing offensive rebound early on. His defense is good. Of course, he did struggle with the 5 fouls, but some really good short roll stuff. Because as I said, Harden was getting blitzed at the top, and it wasn't even because he was playing so great. I think the Thunder genuinely just wanted us to get a different shot. Wanted someone else to make a play. But Their scrambling was impressive at times, and that's part of why they were so comfortable doubling Zoo. They knew their speed, because they were going small, was going to be able to chase guys around the perimeter and close out and stuff like that. But yeah, we got outscored in the first quarter by a score of 25-24 OKC. And the second quarter, they outscored us 41-29. We had a good stretch, though, in the beginning of the quarter when we went on an 8-0 run. A lot of that was Nico and Chris Dunn coming in and changing the game defensively. But KBJ also was playing good defense. His size is valuable on defense when he's engaged. There was one play where he hustled back from the other end of the court when he was down and behind the play, and he got a hand up and caused a miss in the corner. And he had some spectacular floaters in the lane. So even though he started out a little shaky, and Brian Seaman kept alluding to that, he had 5 straight points in that stretch. One of them was a three-pointer coming off a Nico offensive board. And I thought the lineup of Nico, Coffey, Chris Dunn, Zubac, and KPJ looked very good defensively, because you have a lot of good versatility there size-wise, and then Zubac protecting the rim. And it really starts with guys like Nico and Chris Dunn. I mean, they obviously give you a lot in the defensive department and the intangibles department. But yeah, and also Amir Coffey, he had 5 straight points in the second, did some good things on both ends of the floor, but we committed way too many offensive fouls and had 15 first-half turnovers. If it weren't for Chris Dunn making those 2 threes late in that second, I think we would have been in real trouble going into that half, but we went with a little bit of momentum, down by a score of 66-53, and in the second half we made a push, but just fell a little bit short. Coming up, going to be talking about Terance Mann and how we started to make that push. What was the change on getting Ivica Zubac back in the game? Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And in terms of the NFL odds, we got Commanders and Eagles on Thursday. The Eagles are -3 for that one, but the Commanders are pretty hot right now. The Detroit Lions are -13.5 against the Jaguars on Sunday. Then Rams are -4.5 at the Patriots, but they really disappointed me on Monday night against the Dolphins. But where can you go search for that? FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so the Clippers losing a narrow one, 134-128. How did they get back in the game? Well, I thought we did a much better job of fighting the ball pressure, so getting it up the court. And when we fight that ball pressure, we play with a little bit more pace. We then have bigger passing windows to get the ball into Zoo. I also think Zoo did a better job of getting deeper position. The higher he catches it, the more he has to dribble. That allows the defense to double, and it shrinks the floor. He talked about that after the game. They were shrinking the floor, doubling from the baseline. And I think one thing Zoo's got to do is stay patient. When he catches the ball and they double, if he keeps the ball up high, he can see over the defense, maybe take a second or two longer than he thinks he has. But if he catches the ball deep enough, that double can come. If it's not there quick enough, he's going to score right over the top. And I thought we were more patient with the entry pass. One thing I think we could incorporate is when you have a situation where the entry pass is being made from the wing and you have a guy flirting with that defensive 3-second violation coming from the weak side to kind of sandwich Zoo when he's being fronted by his man, I think what we can do is, what some guys will do is fake that pass to the baseline and try to make him go back that way and then lob it up. But also if they're not fronting and you just see the double ready to come, I see you throw it to Zoo, get it back. He fights a little stronger, fights a little harder for position, and we get a little repost, throw it back down to him as the defender from the weak side corner has retreated when that pass is made back to the initial entry passer. So basically like this. Imagine I'm a guy on the wing. Let's say I'm James Harden. And Nico Batum is in the opposite corner. Someone's guarding Zoo. Nico Batum's man is getting ready to come from that opposite side and help. And the second I throw the ball and Zoo catches it, he's getting double teamed. I would throw it to Zoo, get it back, in which case that defender will probably go back because he's already, flirting with that defensive three. Fake that pass cross court, get it back to Zoo after he fights a little harder for post position so then he can go right up before that second defender can recover back. That's something I think we should look to do. You don't really see many pass and reposts these days. I don't know why, but again, it's because post game is not really emphasized as much. But I think we did a better job in the second half. And then Norm started to get going more. He had an insane three to end the third quarter, a fall away right next to the Clippers bench. Definitely a shot you can tell he's practiced. And as I said earlier, he was starting to get to the basket, get downhill, and be more aggressive in that second half. 18 points in the third quarter and a 10th straight 20-plus point game. And the crazy part for him is he finished with 31 points, even though he only had 2 in the first half. I mean, but the only thing I'll say about Norm is he had that stupid foul before the ball was in play that gave him a free throw. That sucked. I mean, we were down by 20 and cut the deficit down to 2. Like, we were right there, but the free throws, the turnovers, the fact that we even had a chance to win this game with 24 turnovers against a team like that is crazy. But Norman Powell continues to be amazing. We outscored the Thunder 41-33 in the third. They outscored us 35-34 in the fourth. We played a 9-man rotation. No Kai Jones. Nico Batum, I honestly thought it's like, if we're going to play small ball so much, why don't we play Nico more? Because Nico's the small ball king. I thought we could have played him more. 3 points, 3 boards, an assist, and a block for Nico. He did have those 2 turnovers. He shot only 2 shots. They were both threes, and he made one of them. And he played 12 minutes, which was the least of any of our rotation players. Kevin Porter, I think he's had 3 pretty solid games in a row, honestly. Got off to a shaky start. His process is awful offensively, I think. It's a lot of ball pounding. It makes our offense very stagnant. But his shot making is still something that we might need. He had 9 points, a rebound, 2 assists, a block, and 2 turnovers on 3 for 6 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep, 2 for 3 from the foul line in 14 minutes. Then Terance Mann, who I wanted to talk about. So Terance is looking really frightened on that court right now. Really frightened. There was one time where he was on the break and he caught the ball and didn't go up for a layup or dunk. Instead, passed it to a trailing James Harden, who missed and then got his own rebound and put it in. But passing to James Harden full speed on the break, as opposed to you, an athlete, going up strong, that's not like Terance. I've seen Terance pass up open threes time and time again. I've seen him pass up putbacks around the rim. I've never seen him pass up a layup on the break or a dunk. His confidence is really, really shot right now. And it's exactly the conversation from last year. And I think part of the reason why he was not spacing the floor well and hasn't been is because he doesn't even want to catch the ball at the three-point line sometimes to shoot. And it's so annoying because in the second half, he took a 3 without hesitation and he made it. And he finished 1 for 2 from 3 in the game, which is not even that bad. It's like, bro, I just don't understand how we can have these confidence discussions at this point when he just got, a show of faith from the franchise for re-signing him. The fans back you like crazy outside of some people that are really annoyed with Terance's lack of aggression on Twitter. But, we all back you, dude. You're 28 years old now. We can't be scared to shoot. We don't care if you go 0 for 10, but let's see the attempts. You know what I mean? It's gone frustrating. And I'm not saying take him out of the starting lineup. I said let's give him 15 games. But we're a couple games away from that. Although, I don't know. Do we want to start Amir Coffey or Chris Dunn and make our bench weaker? Maybe give it a shot to see if Terance reacts better coming off the bench. Maybe amount of pressure is lifted off him. But him passing up a layup or a dunk on the break, that was really telling to me. And he's got to be better. Because defensively, he's been good. But he's not been as good as Chris Dunn. He's not been as good as Nico. He's not been as good as Derek. So, his offensive struggles are a little bit magnified now because we have other guys that can play defense. I do think that it's also because he's of any of the rotation players, he's played the worst relative to expectation. He's made me look the fool right now because I said that contract was a good contract and he could easily outplay it. But I did say he could easily not if he's playing like this. And I opted for, if I had to choose, he was going to play like the Terance that we've seen the last couple of years. But what right now what Terance he's playing like right now is the Terance we saw in the beginning of last season. And he doesn't have the coming off an ankle injury excuse. And look, I'm always going to back Terance. That's my guy. I'm forever indebted to him for what he did in the Clippers playoff run in 2021. And he's given us great years. He's literally never had a bad season for the Clippers. He's always been amazing with fan interaction and just doing stuff for the community with the fans and being a spokesperson for the franchise. But he needs to be better. It's as simple as that. And it just starts with confidence. It just starts with him shooting the ball. Like, bro, come on. Passing up layups. Like, okay, you get blocked. So what? Come on, T. I believe in you, bro. Like, I truly believe in you. A lot of fans, like, believe in you. Do you know how many Terance Mann jerseys I see at games? Like, come on. We love you, bro. You're the curse breaker. You're the guy. And it's not just one game. That's the revisionist history I'm tired of hearing of. It was not just one game. He played a very one Game 7 in the Dallas series. He had a great 2022 season. We would not have won 42 games without him. The way he played without Paul George and Kawhi that year. We were literally all begging for him to start the entire 2022-23 season. A lot of us were mad that we got Westbrook because he was starting to do well in that starting lineup. And in the second half of last season and in the playoffs, he was very good again. So people need to stop having the revisionist history. If you want to say he hasn't improved since 2022 or 2023, fine. But if you want to say he hasn't improved since that game, that playoff run, disagree. Because he literally improved the very next season. I have faith in Terance, but come on, bro. And his answer to Law Murray was saying, why do you guys, like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, why do you care if I score so much? It's not my job. Like, bro, it's not your job necessarily, but it's everyone's job on a basketball floor to be a threat in some way offensively, especially in today's game where offense is everything in terms of what the emphasis is. So we need better from him. And I love you, Terance. Come on. You already know it. But he was 1 for 3, 1 for 2 from 3. And 1 for 2 from the foul line. He had 4 points and 4 boards in just 18 minutes. The thing I'll say is it's not super detrimental because we could just put in Chris Dunn to get more minutes. It's not a big deal. And Amir Coffey as well, who's been very solid. I thought he was pretty good in this game outside of some bonehead fouls. 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 turnovers on 4 for 8 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the foul line. 50, 60, 100 splits. I'll take that all day. I think some fans online are very unfair to Coffey. I think he's been very solid in his role. Been pretty consistent this season. And then Chris Dunn. Thought he did a lot of good things. Short roll passing, really good defense. He assisted 8 times, which was second after Harden. 9 points, 4 boards, 8 dimes, no turnovers on 3 for 6 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3. OKC was really letting him shoot, and I love how comfortable he looks right now. 50, 40 splits, but 50 from the foul line, which, 1 for 2. We'd rather him obviously go 2 for 2, but it is what it is. And then the starters outside of Terance, who I already talked about. Derrick Jones Jr. thought he was magnificent, both ends of the floor. His three-point shooting has been excellent to begin the season. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Did turn the ball over 3 times, but he was 8 for 13 from the field and 4 for 5 from 3. Did miss his only free throw, but if there's anything to take away from Derrick Jones right now, it's how well he's shot the ball from 3. And if you can continue to do anything close to this, we are going to be golden. And then the big 3, so to speak. Ivica Zubac, his, floor is so much higher now with the minutes increase. He didn't even have a great game. He missed 2 chippies in the third quarter. And it was in the fourth quarter. And he had 22 points and 14 boards still and 3 blocks. Didn't turn the ball over after the first half, but he did turn the ball over 4 times. 9 for 12 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. So he still shot a very good percentage. I thought we should have leaned more into him, not less. And then James Harden, already read his stat line, 17 points, 11 boards, 9 assists, 5 turnovers on 5 for 15 shooting, 3 for 7 from 3, and 4 of 5 from the foul line. Powell fouled out, Harden had 5 fouls, and Chris Dunn had 5 fouls. So there were several Clippers in foul trouble. As for Norm, 31 points after a 2-point first half, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. He did turn the ball over 3 times. He was 10 for 15 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the foul line. I can't put into words just how well he's playing, and it seems like it's consistent. But sadly, we lost it 134 to 128. I'm not too mad at the loss. It was winnable, but, the Thunder is just better than us. It's that simple. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more Clipper content. When live after the game, check it out. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And make sure you are subscribed to the Locked On newsletter. Locked On Clippers newsletter. Just go to lockedondaily.com to support your boy. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube as well and hit the notification bell.